How's it going, guys? My name is Zach with the Movie Castle, and today we're going to be talking about John Carpenter's The Thing. The Thing. This is a classic. If you guys haven't seen it, go out and watch it right now. It is pretty dark with some extreme gore and some very deep and dark moments, but if you don't mind that, and if you haven't seen it, just go watch it. Easily one of John Carpenter's top 5 films, and very, very desolate and scary. And just, if somehow you haven't seen it, go ahead and watch it. It's a classic. But that being said, with a classic film, I feel like I always say this around the classics. There's a lot that's been said about this already, and I really don't know how much new stuff I'll be adding to the conversation. But I do want to talk about it, just being a horror geek, being a John Carpenter geek. I want to talk about this movie, and I want to, I want to say my piece on it, even if so many other people have already done it. I don't know what I'll say new, but I gotta talk about this. Anyway, The Thing from 1982. This is directed by John Carpenter and stars Kurt Russell. Kurt Russell is in a lot of John Carpenter's best movies. A really great collaborating pair. This is based on the book Who Goes There by Joseph W. Campbell, and is a remake, kind of The Thing from Another World. Now, I say kind of because Carpenter, a lot of people have argued that this is really a second adaptation. He's not really focused too much on remaking The Thing from Another World. He's more going back to the book and doing his take on the source material, not necessarily trying to follow the book verbatim, but doing his own original take and not trying to copy the original Thing from Another World one. That being said, there are a few definite callbacks to the original. In particular, the name. The name of the book is Who Goes There. The name of the first adaptation is The Thing from Another World, and a lot of people would just say The Thing, which is where Carpenter got the title. But the biggest difference between the two films is the original The Thing from Another World doesn't feature the shapeshifter element that was so prevalent in the novel, and it really is a key thing. It's what the whole story's about. And to be honest, I had seen this one first, as a lot of people had, and then I went and watched The Thing from Another World, and it really is jarring to see that it didn't do the shape-shifting element. It's really more Frankenstein in the Arctic, basically. It had the whole defrosting the creature bit, but to see that not be in there was really just something like, they couldn't, you don't have to show fancy transformation, but, show the shape-shifting, show it be another person, but whatever, I'm getting ahead of myself. Let's go ahead and talk about the plot. I'm not going to be doing any major spoilers, but I do want to say my piece on a few plot points and make sure you guys have a basic understanding as to what the movie's about. The movie opens up with a spaceship crashing to Earth millions of years ago, or theoretically, we don't really know when it crashed. But then you get the famous title. The Thing comes in with these blue lights shining towards the sky. And then we cut back, to the present. We cut to the present, and we meet a team of Antarctic researchers with Kurt Russell as part of the group. He's not the head of the group. He's their helicopter pilot, so he's a little bit of an outsider amongst all these other scientist characters. And he's really gruff and down-to-earth. The character name is MacReady. People sometimes just call him Mac. But somehow, even though it doesn't give you a bunch of character backstory or crazy things, you somehow latch onto this as your main character. And it's just, I guess, Kurt Russell's effortless charisma there, They don't give Mac a big, crazy, tragic backstory or anything. But something about Kurt Russell, you're like, that's the main character. We're gonna follow him. And whenever anything, whenever it looks like the Thing might have gotten him, you're like, oh, I hope Mac's okay. I don't know what it is about Kurt Russell, but effortless main character there. Anyway, they're at this research base when suddenly they see a very strange sight. There at the American research base, there's this other research base, and one of their helicopters is flying outside of the US base, chasing a husky, and they're shooting at the husky, trying to kill it. Now, the husky makes it to the US base, and the Americans are like, hey, don't kill this dog. But the guy from the other base, I think it's either Swedish or Norwegian, I forget which one it is, and it doesn't help that there's a joke that Mac can't remember which one it is either, and that really just scrambles it in your brain. But the Swedish guy is way too aggressive to get the dog, and the Americans wind up killing him in self-defense. You know, I see all these lists of dumb horror movie characters. Not enough people talk about the Swedish sniper that can't kill this dog at the beginning of the horror movie and winds up getting himself and the helicopter pilot killed. Whatever, though, it's a setup. So the Swedes are dead, and the husky makes its way into the US camp where they take care of it, and they're like, it's a nice dog, you know, and they go, okay, we can't radio for help because the weather, we can't ask anyone what happened there. They get Mac to take a small group of people to the other research base and figure out what happened. Why did these two people die chasing a dog? And they go there and they find it horribly wrecked up. This is a really good scene, you know. You keep what happened a mystery, and you're revealing it. It's going into the deep, dark secrets, and just going in, finding this research base all torn up, and going, what the heck happened here? Is a very good scene, and I love it. And you see several grotesque and gruesome images here, and you're like, what happened to that guy? How did that get there? And it really is a cool scene. And if you want to find out more about this, the other version of The Thing is a prequel to this one, the one with Mary Elizabeth Winstead. Not the best movie ever, it's still pretty good. But that's what that movie's about. And that being said, if you've not seen this before, make sure you get John Carpenter's The Thing, because they're both just called The Thing, you know. But anyway, at the research base, they find a few really important things. They find a pile of strange bodies that they're not even sure if they're human, all burnt up. So these weird mutilated corpses being all burnt up outside the base. And then in the base, they also find a large block of ice with a hole in it, like something had been melted out of the ice. So they don't know what happened. They go back to their base and they look through all the records, and they find that the Swedes were looking at something in the ice. They go to the location based on the records and find a big mysterious ship that they've dug out of the ice, and then, from the prologue, right? And then, just a little bit away, they find where that ice that had melted in the base came from. A little hole in the ground that something had crawled out of the ship and was frozen in the ice there, and they pulled that out. And they go back to the base, you know, and start studying whatever they can, when they go to put the dog in the kennel, and then they come back to check on it and find that the dog is turned into a monster. It wasn't really a dog, it was mimicking the dog, and it had started to absorb and transform into more dogs. It was starting to eat the dogs and then mimic them. So it's starting to gain more biomass and then camouflage inside. And then they start to realize this dog has been at our base for a long time. Who's to say he didn't do that to any of the people? So any one of these people may have gotten absorbed and replaced by a duplicate version of them in a very, very gory process. But you start to wonder who among us isn't really who they say they are. And yes, I did just say Among Us. This is clearly the inspiration for that game. But who isn't who they say they are, and it becomes this paranoia thriller with a cool monster element to it, you know? And that really is where the movie gets really cool and interesting. And I'll get into specific elements now, I guess. One big one is I really love this movie's atmosphere. You get a group of men isolated from the rest of the world at the poles, and they're up there in the ice. There's a big windstorm that picks up throughout the movie, and wind and ice, and you can't see where you're going when you're outside most of the time. So you're in this tiny little rundown shelter, and things are beating at the walls, and you feel all alone. And, you know, not just because of the ice, but the abandoned sense. A lot of the setting here did remind me in many ways of The Shining, you know? Just this tiny little place surrounded by ice, the wind beating in at you, and there's a few shots of, you know, empty corridors where it really does feel like that, and that is super, super cool there. But then you're alone, and you get the paranoia. You don't know who you can trust, and, you know, there's times where you don't even know if you can trust MacReady, your main character there. But big and desolate, and there's tension, and, you know, you're not just with other people, you know, a little bit of other people, you're like, a little bit of human companionship, but then you throw in the element that the few people that are there, who can you trust? And there's some really clever moments you do. It's not just a creature feature, it's a paranoia thriller. It's also got lots of survival, and trying to figure out, you know, who the thing is, and tracking the movements, and coming up with clever solutions. There's a thing that Matt comes up with, a test to figure out who's the thing. And it's a really clever idea. It's like, yeah, that would totally work. That's, you know, and that's what you want to see with survival elements, a clever idea that you're like, I didn't think of that, but that would really help you out in the situation. And in addition to that, if you're big, like, you know, conspiracy people, you can look at this movie and try to track the path of the thing, because it doesn't explain it to you. There's a few moments where you're like, okay, that guy was a thing, but when did he get assimilated? You know, when did he get picked up by the thing? And there's so many moments like that where if you want to be an uber nerd, there's like several videos where it's like, I've tracked the path of the thing, who got assimilated and when. You know, you can find those on YouTube. And if you really want to dig into it, you can. And there's several moments where people don't know, like, when did this guy get assimilated? Was this person a thing at this moment? And nerds can really track that if they want to. Now, you're not going to be lost if you don't, but you can really, really dig into this movie if you want to. And it's really cool. I mentioned Kurt Russell earlier. You also get Childs' character he has a rivalry with. And you get some other really cool characters. You get one guy that goes crazy and he starts trying to destroy everything because he knows if the thing gets out, it's going to kill the whole world. And he's like, I don't care about me. I'm going to smash up the radios and make it harder for us because we can't get out of here, you know? So you get several other characters, not just Kurt Russell, and everybody's playing against each other. And out of all that, though, there is another big element that I have to talk about with this, and it's a lot of the things that people go right to when they talk about this movie, and that is the special effects. The special effects in this movie are legendary, very gross and very gory, but when the thing is not one thing in particular, when it's going through changes or just trying to make the best form it can to get out of the situation, it is really gross and really gory, and it's practical, and it still holds up today. With the prequel that came out later, they had CGI, which is not bad, but you can really tell, you know, CGI from not that long ago looks okay, but these effects from '82, which this movie is almost 40 years old, like, these still hold up very, very well, and it is really, really interesting the way, like, you're a morphing monster. You can't, it's not super fluid, like, you can't just go whoosh, whoosh and be something else. You have to morph into it. And, you know, you can see remnants of its previous forms. You know, like, it will make this weird flower-looking mouth thing, and you can see dog teeth lined inside of that because it already knows what a dog is, and it can use any part of that. And then you get, like, little parts that don't look like anything, and you're like, is that an alien creature? Is that what it looks like naturally? Is that some other species that the thing has conquered? And there's so much to look at. It's very gory, and it's going to turn some people off, but it is such an effort. I think the guy who did these effects actually worked on them so hard he went to the hospital. He overworked himself, and they brought in another legendary special effects artist to work on it while he was in there. And it's just, you can see the work and you can see the effort with this great top-notch practical effects. If you're a practical effects nerd and you haven't seen this movie, this is one that you have to watch right now. But anyway, I don't know how long I've been talking. I really do love this movie. The Thing is a Carpenter classic. Now, the tone is very doom and gloom. It is very much a hopeless situation, and it does get very gory, so if that's not really your thing, it might not really be the movie for you, but it is deep and dark and scary with some great and surprising moments. The last time I watched this movie, I actually watched it with my cousin who hadn't seen the movie before, and there were a few moments I'm like, oh yeah, that's gonna happen. He's like, whoa! But anyway, it's a really fun experience to watch this movie. Really big and thrilling, and, you know, if you don't like the doom and gloom atmosphere, if you don't like gore, then maybe this won't be the one for you. But that being said, this is a really cool, really fun and exciting movie. Really pushes and goes for it, and easily the top 5 Carpenter. I have to say, I really do love this movie. And I seem to, you know, the true test of a good movie is every time I watch this movie, I think I like it a little bit better. And that's really what you want out of a good horror movie. Really, really dark, really goes for it. Crazy, crazy effects and the cool sense of isolation. But anyway, I may have been talking for quite a bit now. To everyone who's watched so far, thank you for watching. To everyone who's liked and subscribed, thank you. You're really helping the channel out. I'll put a relevant playlist on the bottom. This should be my John Carpenter playlist. All the previous Carpenter movies I've reviewed will be in there as well. The prequel to The Thing, I'll put that in there, just anything related to Carpenter. And a complete Blu-ray DVD collection is in there as well. So if you want to see more of my Carpenter stuff, I'll put it down there. Anyway, thank you for watching. Have a good day. I'll see you guys again very, very soon. Relevant playlist on the bottom. Have a good day now.